the cars coming around here on their rolling lap. The safety car has pulled in, the red lights are on, and the lights will go out very shortly. And the race will get underway then for 25 minutes of racing around the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, so they'll get plenty of laps in that time. It's a bit squeezy through the first couple of corners there, a bit of light contact maybe. Certainly the car that's on pole position of Andrew Gord has dropped down the grid a little bit. Andrew Fido has as well in the number 12 car, so it'll pick up the order in just a moment. But they're making their way now through Druids Corner and then dropping down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend, and it looks like it's Charles Hall. Yes, it is, in the spire that leads the way then. So Charles Hall it is that is out in front in the ADR, I should say. Second place is at the moment, I think, the car of Shane Stoney that's made his way up to second place already. There's the 57 car, certainly, of Pedro Oliveira in the Mattel that's making his way through, so he's making up some progress as well because he started 7th on the grid. But at the end of lap 1, it's Hall leading, Stoney second, Oliveira third as they make their way onto their second lap.
Yep, Shane Stoney absolutely flying in, and he's going to go for the lead actually down the inside and get the place away from Charles Hall. So it took him just over a lap to come from row 4, 8th place after the reverse grid, of course, after qualifying. He was quickest this morning by over half a second. He's now into the lead of the race. So Shane Stoney absolutely flying in this one as he turns his way now in towards Graham Hill Bend. Charles Hall will try and stay with him as best as he possibly can in that number 77 machine, and then behind that in third place it was, I think, the Mattel up into third position in car number 57 with Pedro Oliveira, who I can see just behind Charles Hall at the minute. So top 3 quite close together, and I wouldn't put it past Pedro possibly making a move at the end of this lap as well, because he's very quick as he works his way on towards a very slippery Clearways and Clark curve, and then just behind it is going to be the Class B leader of Leon Morel. Yeah, but a great start it was from Shane Stoney to get from 8th to 1st within a lap. Reverse grid not proving any barrier to him. That was introduced this season, the reverse grid format for the first race, just to try and liven up the race, because Charles Hall massively out of shape there. He just about wrestles his car, that big ADR, around the corner, the black and day-glow green car. Wrestles that round the corner, but not without losing a position 2, number 57 in the Mattel, Pedro Oliveira, and it puts Hall back into the clutches of Leon Morel, who, as Matt says, is the Class B leader, and he just needs to keep picking up the points within Class B, does Leon Morel, to hopefully wrap up his championship. But he'll still, if he can, want to take the fight to the cars in Class A as well. That car of Charles Hall is looking quite a handful at the minute, isn't it? It's wiggling around all over the circuit, not just at Druids Corner, but also on the exit through McLaren as well on this lap. So Charles Hall now trying to stay ahead of Leon Morel as they work their way in towards Paddock Hill Bend for the 4th time. We're going to get quite a few laps into this race, 25 minutes, so we're going to be probably plus 30 laps by the time we get to the end of it if we get the full race distance. But for now, Shane Stoney on his 4th lap is the quickest man with a 52.766. And already over the space of the last couple of laps, he's extended the margin between him and Pedro Oliveira out to almost 4 seconds. So Shane Stoney, things looking good for him at the minute as he turns his way rapidly through Surtees and on towards McLaren. And it's a measure of how the conditions have changed since qualifying, that they're lapping 8 seconds a lap faster than they did this morning. So conditions are improving. I mean, they'll still be on, I imagine all of these are on wet tyres still, although that could become a bit more borderline as the race goes on. Shane Stoney now with a 52.36 second lap, so he improved his fastest lap time, 5.4 seconds. Now the gap back to Pedro Oliveira in second, Charles Hall there in third, Leon Morel in 4th, and he's got quite a comfortable lead in Class B. He's about 6 seconds or so clear of Tom Cockrell, who is the next car within that class. Yep, so up towards Druids we go once again then, and this fight still continuing between Charles Hall and Leon Morel. And of course Leon would love to get past Charles Hall, but the main thing he needs to focus on today, as we said, is just taking the maximum points he possibly can within Class B. That would be good enough. But of course, if the opportunity does arise for Leon to go through, then he'll absolutely give it his best shot. And to be fair, the car behind of number 19, James Keeble, is not too far adrift either. Ooh. And unfortunately for the car off the back, Dominic Langdon Down has gone for a spin over there on the entrance towards Clearway. So just waiting, I think, for a gap in the traffic. I think the car is still fired up, so if you can find the gap, you might be able to just spin that back around.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to do that now, which is good news. Back into the race he will go. Yeah, it should be pointed out to me, it's not 7 seconds a lap faster, it's only about a second or so a lap faster at this point, because I was reading the information wrong on my grid sheet there. This is looking tasty all of a sudden, isn't it? Leon Morel up the inside of Charles Hall to try and take the place away at Druids. There's Jamie Keeville there as well in the number 19 car. That comes to nothing. Keeville is in a Class A car. The Morel car is a Class B car, and Hall again in a Class A machine. So they are coming out of... Oh, and again, that car is just fighting against Charles Hall everywhere he goes, and he somehow manages to oh no, he's not managed to wrestle it back into control there, because he's now gone off onto the grass and he's lost a couple of places as a result of that. But he's really, really having to fight against that car, which is just determined to put him into the gravel trap at any opportunity. Yeah,
wherever he's doing it though, he's finding that bit of tarmac, isn't he? Whether it be at Druids or at McLaren, he is finding the bit of tarmac just to help him out and stay on his way. So yeah, Charles Hall does continue, although he does now drop down into 5th position. I think your 7 seconds, Ian, was kind of predicting what it's going to to be at the end of the race, wasn't it? You were just preempting.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good going. The lap record for these cars is into the 45. It's a 45.55 for Scott Mittel in July 22. So in dry conditions, that's exactly the kind of lap time Stoney would be doing.
We've just had a change there as well, because James Keeville has gone through on Leon Morel. Looked quite easy there, and again, I don't think Leon Morel is going to fight a Class A car too heavily, so he lets James Keeville go on the run down through Graham Hill Bend. So that now sees that number 19 machine up into the podium places, as Shane Stoney has gone through for the 7th time and he's now got a lead of 8 seconds over Pedro Oliveira. So absolutely on fire. Charles Hall is still a little bit leery on towards the Brabham Straight here, so the car is not really, I don't think, to his liking at the minute.
No, not at all. So there's Morel, number 1, now behind the number 19 car of Jamie Keeville, 29-year-old from Camden, Business Development Director. Been racing for 10 years now, also just swinging 60s in his dad's Elan. This is a Hayabusa RLM engined car run by RJ Motorsport, the ex-Reese car, Robert Reese car. But there's Morel, who is looking good here for another championship title in bike sports this year. The 42-year-old from Nottingham, a flooring shop owner. He'd been racing for 4 seasons, but already a 2-time champion. As we watch a little bit further back, a battle for 9th and 10th position. Andrew Gordon, number 60. Number 93 is Stephen Larkham, the 42-year-old from Carrickfergus, a mechanic, been racing for a couple of seasons. Also races this ex-Phil Cooper car, so this is a car with pedigree, winning races and championships in bike sports. He also races at Kirkstone quite regularly back there in Northern Ireland. And look here, Shane Stoney about to lap them as well. Only, we're on lap 9 of the race.
Yep, just gone past 2 further cars, Doug Carter and Ross Board, and he's going to get past these 2 as well, as you said, Ian. So through he goes very nicely. No delay whatsoever for Shane Stoney as he comes up towards the line once again. The next one on the list will be the number 117 machine of Ross Drew in that Radical SR3 RSX, the man from Nottingham. So all of these slightly slower drivers than Shane Stoney, just observing the blue flags, just stepping aside and making sure that Shane is not delayed in the process. Although on that lap, Pedro Oliveira was quicker than Shane Stoney. So maybe the Mattel now just starting to come into its own as well. Whether that, of course, was the traffic that played a part. I don't think it was massively, because Shane did make it quite easily through them. But Pedro Oliveira for now is just starting to bring the gap down as this tremendous fight continues on for 9th and 10th place.
Yeah, Andrew Gord still very much involved in this as well, number 60. He is there in the SR3 RSX 1.5 litre car, and up against it is the little Pro Sport, the central seat driving position car of Stephen Larkham, say the ex-Phil Cooper car, that the Autograss racer as well. And you can see Pedro Oliveira is coming up to lap them as well in that Mittel team who run the cars in a variety of different championship sports, 1000, F1000 as well, amongst others. Saw Peter Legge here earlier, who's here to support the Mittels, and Pedro Oliveira does indeed go through past both of those cars. So he sort of cleared them now, but he's still got 7 3/4 seconds to make up to Shane Stoney. So is perhaps more focusing on his own race here because he's 15 seconds or so clear of Keevil in third place and Morel in fourth position.
Yes, Pedro Oliveira went through there. Stephen Larkham was trying to slingshot that red car through as well on the number 60 machine of Andrew Gord, but he didn't quite get the PR6 down the inside. So he'll try again. Still got plenty of minutes to go. 15 minutes just over left within this first bike sport race of the day. As we now look at Leon Morel on the run through Surtees and McLaren. Although he's been passed by the number 19 machine of James Keevil, he's still managing to keep with him for the time being.
And a spin
James Keevil
for Jamie Keevil, isn't it? I thought he was going to get that going again nicely. In the end, he's pretty much ended up in the pit lane, but he does manage to recover, but not without falling behind Charles Hall once again. But that was not quite as disastrous as it could have been. How much time did he lose on that lap? Probably about 9 seconds he lost with that little spin. But he soon recovered the situation, but he did drop down to 5th place behind both Morel and Hall as a result of that. There he is, continuing along the way. And this battle still going on for final places inside the top 10. 9th and 10th position, Andrew Gord and Stephen Larkham. And they're not too far behind. I think they are gaining, aren't they, on the Ross Drew car? Yes, they are, because that time through, Gord did a best lap of the race, 58.8, and that was a second faster than what Drew did on that last lap.
Yeah, and they're being caught as well by Ross Board in the number 2 machine. So this is going to be a four-way fight before too much longer between all of these cars as they once again drop down through Paddock Hill Bend. But although Gord and Larkham are battling, they are catching, as you said, that car in front of Ross Drew. And Larkham again looks to the inside line, but he's not quite confident enough to go through there. So Larkham stays in tow for the time being, but you can see the all green machine pretty much, the Radical SR3 XXR of Ross Board, who is starting to lurk into the picture as well. So we're going to have 4 together, as we said, and this will be from 8th on backwards as the PR6 tries to get his nose to the inside line in towards Surtees, but just quite hasn't got the grunt in the hands of Steve Larkham. So again, he has to sit and watch the back of Andrew Gord's car for the time being. He now takes a tighter line in towards Clearways, but that doesn't work either, and they're about to put a lap, I think, on the spinner we had earlier on, which was Dominic Langdon down. So he is now a lap down to this battle in 8th place.
He is indeed, with 13 minutes of the race still to go, so we're still not even at the halfway mark of this 25-minute race. Longer distance races for the Bikesports Championship this year. They have longer races but shorter qualifying sessions, and these little idiosyncrasies, shall we say, added into the race, the reverse grid and later the mandatory pit stop as well, just helps to liven things up. Ross Drew there in the orange car, the number 117 car. It's been Miles, his brother, that's driven the car for other races during the course of this season. The brothers from Nottinghamshire. It's the David Drew Garage's prepared car, 1500cc Hayabusa engine, the car in the 4th year of their ownership, as we just cut away from a spinner going through, and it was the 60 car of Andrew Gord, and it also looks like Larkham managed to get caught up in that as well. So both of those drivers that have been disputing 9th and 10th places off on the grass temporarily at least, and as a result of that they can see Doug Carter's picking his way through, so he's going to be ahead of both of them now.
Yeah, they're going to rejoin pretty much together, so they're going to continue their battle through this race as well. So yeah, I think it was an initial spin there for Andrew Gord, and unfortunately Steve Larkham was just caught out in the process as well. So both of them have now recovered, but it does mean that Ross Board goes through up into 9th place, so he gains 2 positions, and Ross Drew up the road there is now not going to be under too much pressure from those cars that were chasing. So on their merry way they go once more, having dropped down into 11th and 12th positions. And as Ian said, it was Doug Carter in his Radical PR6 which went through at the same time as well. So still fairly close together as they all bunch themselves up down towards Graham Hill Bend. But currently we're looking at James Keevil, another man who is on the recovery after his moment through where he is at the minute, through Clearways and Clark Curve. And he's not too far back now from Charles Hall, actually, so he's managed to make a few inroads. And looks like Charles Hall has just started to kind of get to grips with this car over the middle part of the race. Yep.
So over the line they've gone. That time through, the gap between Hall and Keevil barely changed lately. Hall was 0.05 of a second faster, did 54.432, his personal best lap of the race in actual fact, in the number 77 car. So at the end of 15 laps of racing at the moment, it's Stoney leading, number 89, from 57 Pedro Oliveira, 1 Leon Morel, and look at these, the quicker cars fighting their way through the back markers, and Hall and Keevil both doing that quite nicely. It's Morel number 1 in 3rd, then Hall number 77 4th, and Keevil number 19 in 5th, 12 Andrew Fido in 6th position. But this is the battle then for 4th position overall and 3rd in Class A as well, the final podium position inside Class A. Hall's car, certainly earlier in the race, was something of a handful. Keevil has had a moment as well that cost him about 9 seconds. Is that the number 2 car that's had a spin? So that's Ross Board, who was in 9th position. So all of those drivers that were sort of 9th, 10th and 11th have now had a spin in the last lap or so as well. So I think that's probably cancelled it all out. Here is Keevil in the number 19 car, looks up the inside into Druids off the number 77 car of Charles Hall, but he couldn't find a way through there. And so it is still Charles Hall in that ADR that is holding on at the moment to 4th position overall, but I'm not sure he's going to do it for much longer. Here comes Keevil again, has a look up the inside into Surtees, brakes quite late on a not very grippy track and does well there to make that through, Matt.
Certainly does, yep. So finally gets his way back through after that mistake a few laps ago. So he's got 1 back. He's still got another one to try and get up ahead of, which is going to be Leon Morel, and he's still got time to play with here. Just over 9 minutes left within this race. Just looking at the lap time we've just seen from Steve Larkham. Now, after his moment in the race over there at Surtees, the number 93 machine has just gone and done its best lap of the race, which is almost 3 seconds than those ahead of him. That does change this time round. I think there possibly was some traffic that the likes of Ross Drew and also the 59 machine of Tom Cockrell had to deal with. So that was probably a lap out of the blue for Steve Larkham, but he continues to go quicker actually, at 57.2 now. So compared to what he has previously done, he is absolutely flying within this race, although he's about 14 seconds back from those cars up the road. But conditions once again just looking to change now, and Steve Larkham is the one who's making the best of these conditions as we head towards the latter stages.
I was just doing some maths while you were doing that. I think if things stay this way, I think Leon Morel will wrap up the championship in this race. There's another big moment there for Charles Hall, because he's not set for maximum points here within Class B. He's sitting very pretty within Class B, quite a long way clear of Cockrell in 2nd place within that class. He's also got the fastest lap within that class as well, so he'll be picking up 16 points. For his nearest rival, Phil Brown, is not here. His next nearest rival is Andrew Fido, and he's only running 5th in Class A, so only picking up a relatively small handful of points. So I think this race, if it finishes this way, it will wrap up the title for Leon Morel with 3 races still to go. They have 1 more race here this afternoon, and then they conclude at Donington Park on the Grand Prix circuit in October. 7 3/4 minutes of this race left to go. Shane Stoney is dominating it really, isn't he? In the number 89 car, 12 seconds or so to the good over Pedro Oliveira in 2nd, and it's Leon Morel in 3rd, and then these 2 in 4th, Jamie Keevil and Charles Hall, the ex-single-seater racer who's raced quite a lot with 750 Motorsport and Bikesports in the past few years. He won the championship in 2020. He was also the Class A champion last year. He was the 2020 champion in the Spire. He was the Class A champion last year in the Mattel, and this year he's in the ADR. So he's chopping and changing the cars that he's driving each season, it seems. Yeah,
likes to challenge as Charles Hall, so doing well in this one, inside the top 5 as it currently stands. Just watching Andrew Gord, another man who's on a recovery. I think it's been quite a few people who have had to do some recovery drives within this first race for Bikesports, but they've all kind of back on track and doing what they need to do. But it's now Andrew Gord up behind Doug Carter, and last time through it was Gord, who was about 3/4 of a second quicker than the car he is now chasing. So this is one of the closest battles we have on track as they work their way down towards Paddock Hill Bend with 6.5 minutes left to go. The gap between those 2 cars now is just shy of a second. So yeah, it's still Andrew Gord who is making some inroads as they work their way now for the 20th time in towards Druids Corner.
Yeah, that's right. 6 minutes or so left to go in this race. Still the best lap of the race to Shane Stoney, that 52.360 seconds. There's Doug Carter in number 5. He's currently running in 11th position. Both Larkham and, well, not yet Gord have got back past it, but there's Gord in the number 60 car. He was involved in that incident, sort of Surtees and McLaren a few laps ago, that set both him and Larkham back somewhat in this race. But it's good that he's back out into it now. But yeah, Doug Carter, long-time 750 Most Club racer in Bikesports for many seasons now in this Radical PR6, but previously in RGB, as it was then, Road Going Bike Engine Sports Cars with the 750 Most Club as well. So quite an experienced competitor and a well-known face in the 750 Most Club paddock. You can see there as well, Leon Morel in the number 1 car. He is coming through, doing some more back marker lappery as this race goes on. 25-minute race, obviously quite a long distance for these cars. We're probably not quite going to get 30 laps out of it, but it'll be getting on towards that that length of race. And there you can see Leon Morel, as he's looking for a 3rd championship. He goes past that car of Doug Carter. He's controlling the race in Class B, where there's not been a huge amount of opposition, not necessarily the numbers of cars in that class that he would have liked. I'm sure he'd have liked a bit more competition within that class this season, but for him it's also about taking the fight to the Class A cars as well.
Just looking at Steve Larkham once again in that number 93 machine. Last time we looked, the gap between him and Ross Drew was 14 seconds. It's now down to 1.5 seconds, so Steve Larkham has really got a hurry on in that car and has now found himself onto the back of that 117 machine. So I think Ross Drew will be passed very shortly as they work their way now into all 30s and McLaren, and Larkham will be looking to get himself back up into the top 8. So he's done a really good job, has Steve, and then after this I think that is probably as far as he's going to go, with just a handful of laps left within this race. But a nice dive to the inside for Steve as he gets his way now onto the Brabham Straight and goes ahead of Ross Drew. He's going to try his best. It's not quite as quick in a straight line as that SR3, and behind them are going to be very shortly lapped, I think. Well, no, they've passed. Have they passed Tom Cockerell? No, he's a lap ahead, isn't he, in that number 59 machine? So they're about to be lapped by the car, who in fact is ahead of them on the road.
4 minutes of the race left to go then here at Brands Hatch, this Radical Bikesports Championship. Radical making up a large proportion of the grid in terms of the cars, but also now offering their title backing to the category as well. I'm sure this is part of a partnership that will endure. There you can see Pedro Oliveira still got the black cross on the yellow background on the rear of the Mattel, showing that he's not hugely experienced in racing, but he's gone pretty well so far this season in the races that he has done. He's had a 3rd place finish as a best result. It looks like he's going to improve that here with a 2nd place as the race moves into its final 3 minutes or so. Over the line they go once again. There is Hall coming through Clark Curve onto the start and finish straight, and he's about to complete his 24th lap, but he now is not that far off a lap down on the race to Shane Stoney, is he? No,
about 6 seconds, I think, as Shane Stoney crosses the line now. 2.5 minutes left within this race. Shane Stoney still holds the quickest lap from way back on lap number 4 with that 52.3. Currently turning in 53.6 is the race leader, but of course he's had lots more traffic to deal with, which has just slowed the laps. And Leon Morel has been off the road by the looks of it, because he's now passed by the number 2 machine, which of course is a couple of laps down on him, but that was definitely a wide moment that we picked up on as he kind of came through Graham Hill Bend.
Yeah, so a slight scare there for Leon Morel. It looks like he's back up to speed now. He's got the Ross Board car number 2 besides him, and back indeed ahead of it he goes. 2 minutes to go, so probably around about 3, maybe even 4 laps actually, judging at the pace that Shane Stoney is going and where he is on the circuit relative to Leon Morel. Stoney's just gone across the line again with 1 minute 42. No, I think it is going to be 2 more laps for him. That's therefore about 3 at the point I said it to Leon Morel. So Stoney probably going to make it a 28 lap race, I think, and he's well out in control here. Former Sax Max champion, but he's raced lots of different things as well, including in Radicals in the past as well. But coming back to race with the 750 Most Club in Bikesports this season. And yeah, he's certainly had a pretty dominant performance here. In terms of the wins this year, well, 3 of them have gone to Leon Morel, 1 to Stephen Larkham and 2 to Shane Stone. We've only had 6 rounds of the championship so far. It's a 10-round season for Bikesports this season. They've been to Donington Park, Silverstone and Anglesey so far. I say they returned to Donington Park, but for the Grand Prix circuit rather than the national circuit for the final round of the championship. And I think that now is Shane Stoney onto his last lap.
Yep, looks to be the case then. So Shane Stoney, as you said, used to race within Radical SR1 Championship when he was very young. He's not that old nowadays, is he? But still doing very well in this Bikesports Championship. And just to go back to Leon Morel very quickly, he did actually lose a place to Jamie Keevil with that loss of about 8 seconds down at Graham Hill Bend, but of course he doesn't lose the lead within Class B, so it'll still be maximum points for him. But Jamie Keevil will get himself onto the overall podium as Shane Stoney works his way through the left flick very quickly for the last time, then on towards the right-hander of McLaren. This has been once again an impeccable drive for Shane Stoney, and he's going to take a win by almost 20 seconds over the number 57 machine of Pedro Oliveira.
And this is a good effort because we've not necessarily picked it up through our cameras as he comes up to the line to take the win. Shane Stoney, round 7 of the Radical Bikesports Championship. Separate people, Josh Barrett and Declan McDonald as well, both saying that either Stoney's been stuck in gear or possibly has a big misfire along the start and finish straight. So an good effort that from Shane Stoney to bring that car home with such a convincing margin. Pedro Oliveira in second place only goes across the line now, nearly 18 seconds adrift. We'll hopefully hear from Shane exactly what the problem was in just a moment. Gordon Carter a lap down, or actually 3 laps down, of crossed the line already. Third place is going to go the way of Jamie Keevil. He is just about to come up to the line now to take the checkered flag. So he is third overall. And here comes Leon Morel out of Clark Curve. He's flashing his lights. He's won Class B. And I think that's probably the championship as well for Leon Morel in the Radical Bikesports Championship for 2024. As he has had another very good season. He has won all bar one of the races so far. In Class A, he's picked up most. In Class B, I should say, he's picked up most of the fastest laps as well. And I think we should have just had Charles Hall come through to finish, but he's not crossed the line according to the timing screen. So I'm not sure if he's gone straight into the pit lane. So I'm not sure Charles Hall ever actually got as far as the checkered flag. So Leon Morel in 4th. I think it's Andrew Fido that will be classified 5th. And Tom Cockrell in 6th position. It looks like Charles Hall may not be classified there because I don't think he actually passed the checkered flag out on circuit. Let's have a look at the results provisionally then. We'll see if this changes afterwards, but it's number 89, Shane Stoney, that took the win at the end of 28 laps with some problems along the way by the sounds of it. Second to number 57, Pedro Oliveira, 18 seconds adrift. Third, number 19, James Keevil. Fourth was number 1, Leon Morel. In 5th position, number 77, Charles Hall. 6th was number 12, Andrew Fido. 7th, number 59, Tom Cockrell. 8th, 93, Stephen Larkham. 9th, number 17, Ross Drew. Then it was Ross Board, number 2, in 10th. Andrew Good, Doug Carter, Laura Farrow and Dominic Langton completed the 14 competitors. The Class B victory. We reckon provisionally that Leon Morel has probably done enough to wrap up the Bikesports Championship with one more race to go today and 2 more to come at Donington Park in October as well. Bikesports will be back out again a little bit later on. They're scheduled to be out at 5:45 for the second race of the day. We'll look forward to them, but for now, let's go down to the pit lane and Josh.
So we're down here after that first Bikesports race, and Shane, if I can get you to come over here, well done on another win, but it didn't sound all good at the end. Tell us what the problem was.
I'm not sure, to be honest. Whatever it was, it worked around left-handers, so I could get a good run out of Graham Hill and into Surtees, which was good because that was probably keeping me in the game. But for whatever reason, going around the right-handers, it started probably about 4 laps in. It just started cutting, and it was either the ignition was cutting or something was cutting, and then it come back and then it cut and it cut. So the whole thing was rattling like mad. So I've been rattling around, and yeah, I'm not sure exactly. We're going to have a good look before race 2. There's no point, if that had started at the start of the race, I'd have been nowhere because I'll get out on my own. I could even try and manage it, but I mean, it was different throttle set. I tried all sorts to try and get it, and jinking left seemed to give it a little bit of something, and yeah, I'm not sure. We're going to have to try and figure that out. That was probably the hardest race I've ever had to manage, so yeah, just a massive thank you to everyone in the paddock, actually. I mean, the Bikesports paddock's probably one of the best I've ever been in. We had all kinds of issues after qualifying with the thermostat, the water pump packed in, everything packed in, and I had 2 or 3 different competitors, Leon, Stephen, just like, try this, we got a fuel pump, and coming around giving us that, and it's, and I can't thank them enough, because, it's a brilliant paddock, it really is. So, yeah, just got to try and find out what's up now.
Oh, good luck with that. Well done on the win. And who are we going to speak to? We're going to speak to Leon because we've got a race coming up. Leon, well done. A class win. That race didn't go as much to plan as normal.
Yeah, mate, the track is absolutely lethal.
Yeah.
These cars are, in the dry, they're beautiful. There's so much grip. In the wet, they just want to kill you. Exiting some of the slow speed corners, I'm in 4th gear, and it's still trying to spin the tyres. So, yeah, I mean, a millimetre away from spinning the car at any one point. I came into, is it Graham Hill? Got one too many down changes, locked the rears, and had to put the clutch in and took it straight off the track. So it's like, it's on a knife edge all the time. We made some changes for that race to give the car a bit more rear grip and rear stability, and it definitely worked. But the track, I mean, just been talking to Jamie, it's just so slick. All it just wants to do is wheel spin all the time. You're coming onto the straight, just feeding the power and feeding it, and it's just waiting for it to hook up. So, but yeah, I mean, solid job. Car's mega. Playing the championship game, don't want to do anything stupid. I saw Jamie on mirrors early on. I thought, I'm just going to let him go, follow him around, because it's so sketchy. I'd rather him be in front of me than behind. And then he dropped it, and I was like, that's exactly what I wanted, that scenario. Pulled a gap, thought, well, if I can keep this pace up, he might not catch me. Seeing him coming, I just thought, get gone. You know, I don't need to be having anything silly happen today. So, yeah, we'll see how race 2 goes, but hopefully we can have another good one.
Well, best luck with that. Well done to our 2 class winners from the Bikesports Championship. There's no time for any more because there's more racing coming up with the BMW Car Club.